Okay. Okay. I think we are live. I'll change my display name to Hebrew Canaanite.
How does it look when you see it on the?
Okay. I think we are Ronnie, please turn your sound off. I'll change my display name to Hebrew Canaanite.
How does it look when you see it on the?
Okay. I think we are Ronnie, please turn your sound off. I'll change my display name to Hebrew Canaanite.
How does it look when you see it on the?
Okay, I think we are Ronnie, please turn your sound off. Wow, direkt anfangen Musik, ja, schon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
לכבות את הסאונד שלנו. פאק.
רגע, אבל אנחנו צריכים
שנייה.
I'm very confused now.
רגע.
אתה לגמרי בלייב כרגע, לא?
Okay, I think we got over the technical problems.
Did we?
I think we did. Hello, everybody. And welcome to the Hebrew Canaanite YouTube channel. Elik, say hi.
Hi everyone. Hi Ronnie.
Hi everyone.
1 second, I need to do something technical.
So do you want maybe while you're doing it,
Explain about the live.
So this is an ongoing conversation that we have between us, and I already, Ronnie, we also talked about the subject of should we stay or should we go? Which actually, we say this sentence, it's relevant more to us now, like about the position of like anti-Zionist Israelis, even though we reject this term, like this is our legal status now. And it's a question that we always have in mind, and we wanted to raise all the aspects of this question. Also, like morally, is it moral for us to continue to live here when things are getting worse and worse by the day? If there's a point that from this point on, it's not okay to stay here, because I think if there is such a point, we crossed it already, but it's a question to rise and just to have this discussion, because we felt that it's important to have this discussion between us and also to have it publicly, right? And I don't think we could have other better person than you to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's not the only time we're going to discuss it publicly, and yeah, so let's
maybe also present ourselves a little bit. So let's start from you, Ronnie. Just say please to our viewers who you are.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I am an Israeli dissident. I stand up against everything that the Zionist race state is about. And this has become even more important these days, I guess. I'm it doesn't matter. Like I did all kinds of things, BDS related and Anarchist Against the Wall and Conscientious Objector and Palestine Action. We can talk about all of that. But I think that you remember in the last discussion that we had a couple of months ago when I was in Berlin, and we had this discussion about what can you guys do over there? And I was going, well, it's not getting any easier. I can tell you about myself. I left about a decade ago. I left Palestine, also known as Israel, because I felt that it was irresponsible of me to stay there. I felt that I could be more effective outside in order to change the situation inside. And also because, according to me, the views of Israelis about the situation are totally irrelevant to the question of how do we end the crime. It's like, what were the views of the slave owners during slavery? What were the views of white people in apartheid
Yes.
during apartheid? Who cares? The question is, how do we bring about the end of the crime, of the whole system of oppression, domination, terror? And then after we end this whole system, then we can build something together, hopefully. The last year and a half kind of reshuffled things in a way, or just made everything more pronounced, more explicit. Israel has become full-on fascist. It was always fascist. Now it's explicitly so. I would even argue Nazi, beyond fascist. And then the question is, what do we do? And I mentioned the N word, and it's the Nazi element. And I really think that our situation, your situation, could be similar to, okay, what would I have done 90 years ago in Germany, which is where I happen to be right now. Like, a conscientious German who was opposed to everything that their country was doing and their society was doing. What would they do? And at what point do we just pack up and leave? And this is not a judgmental discussion in any way. It's a real challenge for all of us. Like, what do we do in this situation? And I think that's
It's
where we're
funny
heading.
because a couple of weeks after October 7th happened, I remember I wrote several comments on leftist YouTube channels, and I wrote basically this: the time Israeli Jewish, the time anti-Zionist, that I opposed the oppression of the Palestinians, and that in these days I try to ask myself, what would a decent German do to maybe help as much as they can prevent the murder of my grandfather's entire family, you know? Okay, yeah.
Sorry, just a second.
This is something that I had in mind like immediately after October 7th, and even before this to an extent. And I just want to also present us to the viewers, just say who we all are. So I'm Alon, Gaelic. We're both anti-Zionists, even though it says Israel or on our passports, and it says Jewish on our Israeli identity cards. Okay, and this is like the whole discussion about what is Israeli, what is Jewish. I don't know how much I feel Israeli. I don't know how much I feel Jewish. I don't know how much I'm connected to either of these concepts and in what way. And is this a way that is voluntary or forced from above, or what, or just a description of reality, what it is? Is it political? Is it whatever? So I find myself just saying the most factual of things that I have this document that is my passport and it says Israel on it, and I have another document that is my identity card and it says Jewish on it. It does say it. It does say it. I think that's already crazy. Can I stay in a place here already?
Yeah.
Can I stay in a place that puts my ethnicity on the document? Fuck, this is already crazy, right?
Yeah, and these identities are forced upon you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is the other side of the coin. Just immediately, the other side of the coin. We were born here. I think all three of us were born in occupied Palestine, correct? So I was born in a place called Kfar Saba, okay? in a hospital called Meir. This is
Eh,
in occupied Palestine, just factually. Okay? And
neighbors,
Elik, where
same
were you
hospital.
born?
Ronnie was born in the same hospital.
Really? Okay, cool.
High
So
five.
both of us, high five from 5,000 miles away. Both of us are from occupied. Technically, just a true factual statement. We are both from occupied Palestine. And Elik, prove your descent as well.
Yeah. No, so I don't remember actually the hospital. I was born in Jerusalem.
Oh, already holes in the story. You are not a true Palestinian. So
But
it was in Jerusalem,
yeah.
occupied Jerusalem.
But the thing is, I feel like Ronnie, I feel like there's many questions inside this. There's the question, where is the line? Is there a point where you say, okay, now it's too much immoral that I have to pack my things and leave? But on the other hand, like sometimes I feel it was never, we're talking about a settler state, and you know, I sometimes I get from Palestinians like the vibe that they say like your whole existence there for us is
Mm-hmm.
you being there is the occupation, you know? And I feel sometimes like I don't agree with it entirely because I didn't choose to born there, but on the other hand, I can understand this perspective, and I wonder if it's something that you hear also, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
so there's a few things here. What Palestinians think about it, and what do I think about the situation? And it could be different. Um, and obviously, when I say Palestinians, it's a gross exaggeration. Obviously, we have like individuals. I'll
Yeah.
start with
Yes.
the feedback that I get is actually pretty much from all, I mean, from the vast majority of Palestinians. They say, we would have loved to have people like you sharing the land with us. And this
Mhm.
really warms my heart, and I get these messages, which are, and I'm sure that you guys are getting such messages, and it's really so
Yeah.
wonderful to hear that from Palestinians. So thank you, all those wonderful Palestinians who send these wonderful messages,
Yeah.
and it is really heartwarming, and it is inviting, and it is kind of showing us that a better future is possible once we end the crime. But first, we have to end the crime in order to arrive at a better future. Uh, and look, I used to go every week to demonstrate in Berlin, in the West Bank. And a dear friend there, he offered that, like, I will go and live there. He will give me a plot of land and I will build my house there. It was that kind of, like that's how, and it felt at the time, it felt like my second house. And by the way, the people of Berlin, I'm sending all my love to you, and I apologize for not visiting you for so long. I mean, every day I kind of am thinking about you.
Ronnie,
Um,
do you know the song? Do you know the song Berlin, Berlin by
no,
Shmemel?
no, I don't.
Okay, maybe I will tell our viewers something if you don't mind. It's 1 minute. There was an Israeli band that I really liked. The name was Shmemel, and it means I think nothing. It just sounds like vaguely Yiddish. Um, and they did like indie, sort of political, sort of absurd, um, like really cool music. I played a few of their songs to you, Eric, right?
Mhm.
You remember? And one of their songs is called Berlin, Berlin, and the lyrics go, ברלין, ברלין, גם אם אשכח את יד ימין, את תחכי שם לעולמים, שנשוב אלייך, רייכסטאג של שלום ושל יורו ושל אור, לכל שירייך אין לי דרכון. So the lyrics are it's a play on a song, a Zionist song, Jerusalem of Gold, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, which is like a poem to Jerusalem, a love poem to Jerusalem and the conquest of Jerusalem, of course, by one of the biggest poets. What is her
Naomi
name?
Shemer.
No, Mishema.
Naomi Shemer,
No, not
the
poet.
thief as well. the thief of melodies. This melody was stolen from
I
an
don't
old
know if it's
Andalusian melody. Never mind. Anyway, so it's a play on this thing. It's a parody of this thing, and it's about Berlin. It's like a poem, a love poem to Berlin, but he doesn't have a passport, so he can't go to Berlin, the city, the holy city of Berlin. So I was reminded of this song. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but back to the Berlin, Berlin, and Bilin, Bilin.
Yeah.
So you were talking about.
So on the one hand, most Palestinians that I come across are actually very, very welcoming, and they want people like us to share the land with, or and appreciate
Mhm.
that. At the same time, and especially after, I cannot say after this genocide because it is still ongoing. People are somehow thinking that it's over.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
and the 7 decades of crimes against humanity, including apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and all the rest, are definitely still ongoing. So after all of that, I wouldn't have a qualm, like a real issue with any Palestinian who says, no, I don't want to share the land with these people. Just like my grandparents after the Holocaust. Would they go back to their former homes? Would they want to live next to their Nazi neighbors who maybe are no longer officially Nazis, but they haven't really changed their views? I don't know. And who knows what they have done during the war? It's very, very, very similar.
But
So
how can we have hope? You know, the Zionists in our society, like they're like, do you see people here de-Zionized, like in a deep sense? Like
so that's another
what?
issue. That's another issue
Yeah.
because German society hasn't denazified either.
Yeah.
Germany claims to have denazified. They haven't even done the very first step of denazification. And the proof is
Yeah.
looking at German society today and what they support today and the way that they think and the way that they act. But
Yes.
I'm happy to talk about German society. I have much to say about it, nothing positive. Um,
Wow.
literally nothing positive. My German friends here are survivors of German upbringing, just like we are survivors of Israeli upbringing.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
been
Yeah. It's all
indoctrinated and
indoctrination in
brainwashed,
the end.
and we have
Yes.
luckily managed to come out of it in one way or another. And my friends here have gone through similar type of indoctrination. So okay, so the one thing is about what Palestinians think. Now, what do I think about the situation and my place there? Some activists leave because of just how do you call it? Just like kind of being activists for very long and just kind of losing energy. There's a word for it. And just kind of saying, okay, I need to go to a sane place. I've had enough of this place. Or for all kinds of
Yeah.
other reasons, necessities. I left because I wanted to carry on being an activist. So it was an activist act by leaving, according to me. Um, that's one thing. The other is that many Israeli activists, and I'm happy to see that you are not among them, I hope, they feel a lot of guilt for being born in that place. Once they understand, that we are the entitled ones or that we are the privileged ones and get our
Mhm.
privileges at the expense of all the others. Um, I don't
Yes.
feel guilty for being born in a certain place or of a certain gender or of a certain ethnicity or whatever. I feel responsibility. And unlike
Yes.
guilt and fear, which are debilitating factors, responsibility is an active force. It is a force to do more. So I feel that by being born into that situation, it just means that I have more work to do. And the question is, again, where do I direct
Yeah.
my energy? So I cannot apologize. I will not apologize for being born into a certain situation. It's out of my control. But every step on the way
Yes.
is in my control, which is also a Buddhist type of thinking, right? Um, so it's
Yeah. We
on every
wanted.
step of the way we are kind of creating the future. Uh, Now, really, I think that the
Ronnie, can
situation
I
is so
just comment
extreme.
on
Go
what you
on.
said? Can I just comment on what you said? So Elik and I were speaking before our conversation about like topics that we want to raise, and yes, this conversation of guilt, or what was the other side of the equation for us? Like a morality of guilt and the morality of, I don't know, justice,
care,
responsibility, you know.
Yeah.
And like guilt, in our opinion, it doesn't, like, you can feel it. Sometimes it's justified if it encourages you to become better. Okay, if sometimes the situation is so severe that you need to feel guilt to like go through it. I don't know if you want to speak like this kind of language, but the if you get stuck with guilt, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. You want to have a conversation. I don't want to blame people. I don't want people to feel like they're guilty of something. I just want them to change their behavior for the better as much as possible. And I think that this kind of conversation is much more productive, other than, like giving out points for who's like better and who's worse, all these kinds of like petty kind of moralistic, views. Those are the kinds of conversations that we don't think are productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to point the finger at many people. The problem is that we will end up pointing the finger at everyone around us because they're all
Yes,
complicit.
yes,
And we are also possibly complicit in some way, but we're trying our best to not be complicit. Look,
yeah,
paying taxes to the Israeli authorities, that is an issue, okay? Because we know where the tax money is going. So uh, all of these questions are come up when you are living at the expense of others and you don't like it. So one option is to pack up and leave. The other option is to try to change from the inside. Both are valid options. Some Palestinians may say no, not both are valid options. The only real option for you to choose from is to get out of here. Now, and then people think that everyone has the option to leave. It's not so. It's not exactly the
yes.
case. It's true that I don't know the numbers, about half of Israelis should be entitled, more or less half, maybe one third, are entitled to a second passport. I have an
Mhm.
European passport because both my parents were born in Eastern Europe, and I could actually choose which passport I wanted.
Oh, wow.
So I have a passport for some Eastern European country that I don't know, I couldn't care less about. I don't speak the language, I don't know the flag, I don't know anything about it. My dad left when he was a baby and he doesn't speak the language either. I
Mhm.
use this as another argument for the right of return. I say, look, if I can get a passport for a place that I don't know and my dad even hasn't been there since he was a baby and doesn't speak the language, and it
Yeah.
was a matter of like a few months for me to get that passport, then who am I to deny the rights of Palestinians who were born there and their children and grandchildren and on and on? Obviously, they have many more rights in theory than I should have as, the colonizer or son of colonizers, etc. Um, at the same time, okay, this is the reality. Um, and then the question is, what do we do about it? And I could go to
I
Europe
just
and
want to
establish my
expand
life here.
on
Not
this.
everyone can.
Ronnie, I just want to expand on this thing with the passport, okay? So, Elik, you have a French passport, right?
Mhm.
Um, I have only one passport. It says Israel on it. Uh, I, by the way, tried to get a Polish passport because I didn't actively try. I checked it. I checked like my eligibility for a Polish passport because my grandfather was born in Poland. Okay, and it turns out that I have zero possibility to get a Polish passport. Okay, and I think the reason is that my grandfather served in the Israeli military. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is, and I have no possibility to get any other passport that I know of, not easily. Okay, and in my situation are many, many, many other Jewish Israelis. Okay, whatever that means on the technical level, Jewish Israelis. Uh, this is a situation that is shared with a
And
lot
the majority of
and
Israelis are not of European descent, but Arab Jews
yeah,
and from other
yes.
places, and they
So
don't necessarily.
I'm also one quarter Syrian. Okay, my grandmother was born in Syria, and I don't even dream of getting, Syrian citizenship. Okay, this is not even a remote possibility. Okay, so I'm fucked either way. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Now it doesn't
and
mean that we
and like
cannot
I
pack up
have
and
sides
leave.
that are Palestinian.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now
I have
it
sides
doesn't
that
mean
are
that we
just
cannot pack up.
Palestinian.
But yeah. Now, just like in the case of Germany at the time, when the situation gets extreme, people leave because whether they have a way to do it or not, I mean, they find a way. But it
Yes,
gets more complicated. I'm just saying that, especially if you are some people who have families, older parents, they have children, they have spouses, whatever, all kinds of obligations, it gets more and more difficult to leave. So I understand it's not always the easiest choice. But we are talking about that it should be a valid choice. It should be something that every Israeli with a conscience should consider.
yes,
Whether they can or
Yeah,
can't,
and
that's another question.
it's not also like part of the, we need to, I feel, to tackle it all of the aspects, like, because I feel even when I was in the US, which, it's the empire and it's also like disgusting in many ways, but I felt my mental ability to resist, to find people that agree with me, to get together, to do things. It was way easier. It's like I found many more people who there was much more like, I don't know, like here it's not just, it's something in almost in the air, like this
yeah,
the feeling that the normal thing is not to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it with anyone because either you don't want to fight, and most of people will not agree with you, but it's also, this is the normalization thing. It's like,
Hmm.
that people are being slaughtered next door and nobody talks about it. And this is kind of, it's an unwritten almost contract, I feel, in our society. It's like, I guess that you guys know what I'm talking about when you're here. It's like the amount of effort just to bring it up. And my boss in the place that I teach music is going to go to
Research.
the military in a few months, and should I say something to him? Should I throw a word? And then I
even
heard,
for his own sake.
yeah, also for his own sake. But then he's talking about, like, I heard he's talking and he saw me and he said, like, me and Elik has disagreements, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
disagreement.
disagreement about if it's okay to
Hmm.
mass slaughter babies. This is, you call it a disagreement, but this is, and he is acceptable one. He is
Yeah.
accepting me as someone with different, and he is kind of liberal, so it's okay to say we agree to disagree, but like
Yeah, he's one of the better ones
he is
in
one of the
some sense.
better ones because he
Yeah,
doesn't fire me and say like go away because he
yeah,
he know what I'm posting on Instagram. So um I don't know. It's
Yeah, and then what drives me crazy is, like, I don't know, going to the beach and then people having a good time on the beach, and then you see the helicopters like just flying across the shoreline on the way to Gaza and then
yeah,
back to stock up or whatever. It's like, and we
it's
know where
crazy.
they're going. We know what's
Yeah,
happening, but people can just, it's literally an hour away and they just live in a whole other world.
yeah.
Um, but like, and we haven't mentioned kind of maybe why leave other than, for your sanity, and because the situation is so bad. But also, I think that this is an active thing to usher in basically the downfall of the Zionist system of oppression, domination, and terror. So I think that by packing up and leaving, this is an act that will bring about the end of that criminal system sooner. Just like the brain drain that is happening, that many, many, many Israelis have left, the ones who could allow themselves basically to leave, the
but
ones who have
did they leave for anti-Zionist reasons? I don't think so.
no,
Actually,
No.
I
Not for
think they were
anti-Zionist,
Zionist
but they were
people.
not Zionist enough to stay.
I don't know. Maybe they were so Zionist that they left.
Maybe.
But like it's not just okay. You know what? Continue. I don't.
Now I'm just now. So part of it is just like this natural feeling that I had about, okay, I think that at some point it's time to leave. And this is kind of also when you guys asked me last time, what can we do? I said, it's not getting any easier, and I really don't know. I try to be as helpful as I could given the
Mhm.
circumstances, and the circumstances
Yeah.
have just gotten worse. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but you have three laws now. The one is the entry into Israel law that was legislated, saying that foreign citizens will be denied entry if they support BDS, if they are denying the
Oh,
events of the
really?
7th of October. They
Wow.
equate it to Holocaust denial. And in the law, they say denial of 7th of October, basically denying of the Israeli narrative. So
Yes.
if you question the
Yes.
facts, the official Israeli narrative, then you are some sort of a denier,
Not
denying
fascist
of the
at all.
Holocaust. And
Not
also, if you
fascist at
support
all.
the ICC action against Israel, you will be
Mm.
denied entry. But
Mm.
us, Israeli citizens, have it even worse in a way, because it could land us in prison for supporting the ICC, for example, especially if you assist the ICC, for example, or if you deny. There's one law is about denying the 7th of October, and another law that is in the process of legislation is about aiding the ICC, even just by publishing some information that will help them. So all of these things. Basically, I used to say that I am in voluntary exile, and now I'm in forced exile. I used to say that I'm involuntary. Now I'm basically in forced exile.
Mm.
Um, and I think that more and more of us will find ourselves in forced exile over time.
The
So that's
question, do you
another
think
thing.
they?
Another thing. And finally, there's a beautiful text that a friend, Eitan Bronstein, wrote
Mhm.
about leaving, about again the urgency or the role of leaving. And I hope it's okay, Eitan, that I mentioned your name here about that. And so that also kind of like inspired me. Again, like kind of reconfirmed the things, this feeling that I had inside about, okay, we have to talk about it.
It's
And I think it
something
would
that
be
he
also
wrote
very interesting to talk to
recently.
Ethan about it.
He wrote it recently about
Yeah.
like, yeah. The more we talk, I feel like, okay, I have to.
You have to leave. If that's what you think. You have to leave.
It's all, I don't know, because I also, like for me, it's a situation. I, it's like what we talked before. We said like, my thing is my art is writing songs, and I feel like this is my way of spreading messages. And like when I'm here, I'm all the time don't want my art to succeed because it's too scary, and it is scary. Like, there was one Israeli rapper who said we're gonna free Palestine.
Yeah.
Immediately, Hatzel, put his
Mm-hmm.
name.
Hatzel is the shadow. The shadow. He's an Israeli rapper, and he's basically an activist against justice, an activist against freedom, an activist against love.
Yeah,
That's basically what he does.
yeah. So I want to spread the message, and I don't know. I feel like this freedom to feel that I can say whatever I want and I can just let it out, and I don't need to feel. And I know that Palestine supporters are being persecuted everywhere, also in Germany. But you don't have this fear from the people. Like here, I'm more afraid from the population that I afraid. Now the state is getting more fascist as well. But
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It's
Yeah, the state is the entire population. That's why we call it a cult, because everyone or almost everyone
are the
in
state.
the state of Israel are accomplices. They serve the state, and also many Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship are accomplices in many ways. So it's like this is the thing that everyone is involved. Everyone is personally involved, and this is like we talk about the moral question of whether it's moral to stay or not. But there are also highly personal questions, like it's related, of course, it's connected. But another aspect of this is like the social aspect. Okay, I feel very lonely here in occupied Palestine. It's really hard
Yeah.
to
It's a very
because
lonely position to be in.
yes, there are so few people around us who share our position or who share our goals or who share our way of thinking and of viewing the world. So few of them, so few who are even willing to have like minimal capacity for the possibility that we will have this view, you know?
Yeah.
This is it's so rare. Like we have arguments with loved ones all the time, with our family, with friends, all the time. And I must say that I no longer have any friends who are Zionists, not really, because it's like it's impossible. It's impossible to stay friends with people who are Zionists to really stay in like a place of true connection. It's impossible. So it gets very lonely here. And you talked about how it was much easier to find allies for shared action when you were outside of occupied Palestine. And this is very true. It's the amount of allies that we have is I mean I can make a list of all the people who are with me like from my mind, and it would not take me so long, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I wouldn't miss too many people, you
Yeah.
know, the people who are really with us, really against Zionism, you know. It's like I don't know, 50 people, you know, 100 people if I'm being generous, you know. It's ridiculous.
So I understand you know all the leftists in Israel.
I think I do. It's not
Because these are
such
the
a hard
numbers.
task, you know. It's
These
not
are the
so
numbers,
hard.
like a few hundreds, that's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the point. So it gets very lonely. It gets
Yeah.
very lonely, and there is like a feeling of heaviness in the air all the time. It just everything feels heavy. You know, I went to my cousin's birthday party 2 days ago. Okay, and it was like with the entire family, and we were speaking with her, and she was in Japan for a few months now. Okay, and she just came back with her boyfriend like a few weeks ago, and she says everything here. She's like apolitical, you know, but one of the only ones in the family who actually talks to me about politics and who listens to what I have to say. Okay, like she's open, you know, which
She's
is
your cousin?
my cousin. Okay,
Okay.
and she's like a very good person, but she like can't handle, you know,
Yeah.
like she can't. She has to find like a way to handle all the shit, so she like makes herself, you know, ignorant. This is like a tactic, you know?
Most of my friends are this mindset.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not like, yeah, kill them all. They're just like,
They're like,
I don't
I
want
can't
to,
handle it.
yeah,
I
I
can't.
don't want to hear about it because it's too hard to handle. So they
Yes,
become
You remember we
apolitical.
talked about the psychological situation of being a Zionist.
yes.
Yeah.
It's a psychological phenomena that we're dealing with, and yeah, and there's only so many ways you can deal with that, you know, with this bombardment of information from the outside, right? Or like kind of like when
Of like
reality hits you
really
in the
horrible
face.
information as well. Horrible information about things that your country is doing that you are responsible for.
Yeah,
It's like imagine this. Imagine this. They have to block it out. It's like they
yeah,
cannot contain it. Okay, so she's a good person. Okay, I know this for a fact. She just cannot contain it. Okay, so even though she tries to block it out, she came back. She says there is an atmosphere of stress here. Everyone is stressed here. It was so difficult for me to feel the energies of stress here. It is impossible to you can repress all you want, but you cannot repress reality for too long, or like
Yeah.
you cannot all the time and completely. She feels
yeah.
something, okay? And
Yeah.
I think all Zionists, no matter how much they are in denial, they feel something. They feel the stress. They feel the bad energies. And it just creates like you get depressed, you get anxious just on a psychological level. It's impossible to avoid. I have not found a way to avoid it, you know? So this is a big argument for why live on a very selfish, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
what can you even do in these under these conditions? Can you be the best person that you can be? I don't know, you know.
We don't have answers, huh? It's like
No, it's a discussion. This
But
is the thing.
I
We
think
don't
that there
know.
is an urgency, kind of, now, if there was ever a time to seriously discuss packing up and leaving, burning my passport, doing all kinds of like very clear statements about I am not part of this system. If there was ever a time, it is now. And I think it does matter if there are quite a few of us doing this. Um, I think that really it's about personally not taking part, and also about eroding any sense of legitimacy, any removing any sense of legitimacy, normality, and demanding basically that Israel be treated as the pariah state that it is from
But
people
I
from
want to
within.
speak for one moment about the consequences of doing this. And I want, Elik, you did a video where you just said, right? Tell the audience what you said in this video about the Israeli identity card, right?
yeah, I just showed my identity card and I said like that I wish for the day this identity card will be replaced by like free democratic Palestine and I will be a citizen in that state.
Yes.
It got a lot of views, but it's what did you want to say about
That it got a lot of negative comments from Zionists, right?
yeah,
What, like hundreds, right?
yeah.
So he, just for saying,
Mhm.
I don't want this specific identity card. I would like the identity card of a different political organization, of a different,
Yeah.
way of organizing society between the river and the sea. Just for saying this, I want to change the way that society is being organized between the river and the sea from the oppressive supremacist system of Zionism to an equal and just and free system. Just for saying this, Elik got a bunch of backlash. Just people don't understand because it's hard to speak about this publicly. But Elik, you were feeling really bad for a while there, right? Like you got bad comments, right?
Yeah, and it's always feel like, like you said it's full-blown fascist, but it's not yet, right? Because if it was full fascist, they would come to us for doing this
Yeah.
discussion publicly, for example, right? Like it's still, and I'm wondering if we're in this, how do you call it, that you wait, but at some point, like I don't know, they will come for us, and it will be too late. Of course, right? Like I feel the threat here all the time,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you
There's like
don't
an
know.
imminent thing, but nothing really happens.
Yeah, and like, but you have hints. Like I got had this encounter on the train with this
Yes.
guy. One guy saw me and recognized me, and he
Mhm.
started talking about me, what I do very loud on the train, and people
Yeah.
started getting attention. He's like, and
Like
he's
someone was a friend, right?
kind of yeah, musician, and he was
Like an
like,
acquaintance.
yeah, and he was like, this guy saying all of you are murderers in his Instagram, and
Yeah, he was shouting it loudly on the train.
Mhm.
yeah, and he was speaking very loud, and I think this can happen anytime, and but I don't know when, uh,
Look, I
and
think
and
that
and
Israel is fascist. It was always fascist. It was implicitly so. Now it's explicitly so. But the thing is that that fascism is not only directed towards Palestinians. Now it's also more and more towards people
yeah,
like us.
yeah,
And yeah, it's kind of a delicate balance, right? And besides, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to leave, because you have family and you have other things that keep you there, of course. Like I said, it's not about like judging who is staying and who is not. I'm just saying that it is becoming more and more explicitly fascist. It is becoming more explicitly oppressive even to its own citizens. And I think that it is also becoming more and more uh, important to have this clear message out in the world.
yeah.
But the fact that you said something about, I don't want this identity card, I want something that respects the rights of all, and you had this response, um, I think it is a great thing to do. I think it is really important because you basically put a mirror to these people and you see the responses. Obviously, the responses were exactly because you put a mirror to their faces. Um,
So
it's just that I think that we are at such a radical point or extreme point now, and you know all these craziest of the crazies, the people of the Temple Mount,
yes,
the people, the Kahana people who want to bring
yes,
about the third temple and so on top of Al-Aqsa. Um, they were fringe 10, 20 years ago. Now they are the mainstream. Now they are the acting government. They are the senior ministers. And this type of mentality, the kahanist mentality, where they don't even say Arabs or Palestinians, they just say the enemies
yes,
in plural, Awivim. They say the enemies and they have to get rid of all of them. And I'm sure that in this box of the enemy, they will also find other people to put in that box of who is the
yes,
enemy.
yes.
So that is another thing to consider. And besides, these people, I mean, they are really kind of mentally deranged, and they are they have to be opposed, kind of. They have to be called out for that.
But what do you
And
say for, like, I did a job interview for an organization called Musalaha, you know them?
no,
It's a Palestinian Christian organization who's doing groups of like Israelis and Palestinian who built a thing and they would do activism together. And like I did the interview, they didn't take me because I needed to have more information about it was a group in Leeds that I don't enough. But they told me like in the question it was raised. I told them I don't know if I can stay here. And they were like and they told me please don't go because if you go, people like you go, we are left with a band there. Like and they were very like I felt that it was very important for them to leave me with that message. Um,
So I want to take this opportunity to like frame a question here, okay?
yeah.
That I think bears framing.
Mhm.
So Ronnie, you said that you left also to like support your activism, okay? Like you felt that you could be more active against the Zionist regime from the outside. And I think that this is just a question that needs to be raised. Like activism, is it more important or better to do it from the outside or from the inside? In general, and in the case of Zionism specifically, and maybe it's a question that like has different answers for different people. Uh, but I want to present like another side of this argument. Okay, so yesterday I was in an Arabic class. Okay, I went to an Arabic class, and the teacher is like a 48 Palestinian who will not call himself a Palestinian because he's like a liberal Israeli Arab. Okay. Um, in any case, one of the students, he was like an older Israeli guy. He's like Jewish of like Arab descent, and he's like low class. Okay, so Zionist, mainstream Zionist. Okay, but he came to study Arabic. I don't know why exactly, but he came. So there was a picture on the wall of the teacher. Okay, and the picture was of Israel or Palestine. It was like a map, like a simplified map, okay? And we were pairing up to practice our Arabic, and he pointed at it and he asked me, "What is this?" I don't know why he asked me this. I don't know why he asked me this. He didn't know, okay? Maybe he sensed something. I don't know. And I told him, "This is Palestine." I don't know if he was surprised, shocked, or I don't know what, but his reaction was like, "Oh, okay, okay." Like he was. And later in this lesson, we were talking about like restaurant terms, how to order in a restaurant. And I said that I was hodari, which means vegan, okay? And then they were talking about meat, okay? And they said that meat is lahm, okay? And I asked, how do you say murder? And the teacher said, well, it's qatal. So I said, lahm qatal. And then they were talking about like different kinds of meat, like chicken, like lamb, like and I asked, how do you say corpse? I think it's gutha or guthe. Okay. Anyway, my point is that I'm a troll, but the second point is that your very presence as someone who is radical and who goes against the system of norms in the place that you are and who says I am against this whenever they can and how much is reasonable to say this but even just living as it, even if you don't say anything but people kind of know the kind of sense that you are it, I think it bears a lot of significance. And I think that us, all of us, as people who were born in occupied Palestine into this cult, we kind of by necessity became at the front lines of the resistance, okay? Because we have to mix, like we have to be in contact with Zionists all the time. Even if you leave, it kind of attracts, the attention of the Zionists that you are Israeli. It's we have to do this kind of, right? There's no way, if we are anti-Zionists, we have to be anti-Zionists who are in close contact with Israelis. There's and with Zionists,
Yeah, but it's for you to decide how open you are, how you speak about it, if you want to take the risk and the effort about speaking about it.
Because it is a risk.
Yeah, it is a risk, and yeah.
I said before that I don't care what Israelis think about the situation. What matters is how do we change the situation.
Yes.
I'm willing to talk to them. I'm willing to talk to every Zionist. Usually they don't want to talk to me, especially the liberal Zionists. They are the ones who really don't want to talk to me. The honest Zionists, the right wing, they love arguing, but still, okay. So I'm happy to talk to them. I don't think it arrives at much. We did talk about it in our last conversation that there were some people that I did manage to help on their path away from Zionism to become anti-Zionist, and I'm very happy to have been there. So I acknowledge that there is a role here that we can play. I just think that maybe there is a more important thing to do because, it's kind of, like I said before, I felt it was kind of irresponsible of me to stay there. Even though, yes, obviously, when I'm there, I go to the West Bank and I meet with Palestinians and, they became like family and, I mean, they are family. And whoever Israelis that I meet, obviously, I give them a hard time and I challenge. But is it really going to change things? More than that, what's happening right now in the West Bank? In the West Bank, they are bringing Gaza into the West Bank.
Yes.
If we want to change the situation there, we basically have to go there and be human shields. And some people are doing that. And well done. Okay, great on them. Really, I totally mean it. And when we went to demonstrate in the West Bank every week and more than that, then we would also, just by our very presence, we Israelis and internationals, just by our very presence, it reduced a little bit the level of violence coming from the Israeli terrorists. But seriously, there's only so much that we can do when they're bringing about another Gaza on the West Bank.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just putting it in this context, not because I say that what you're saying is wrong, just because the question is, what do we do when the situation is becoming so extreme?
Yeah.
And the people who are heading that are these Temple Mount people, like, these craziest of the crazies. They are the ones who are in control. They are the ones who are in charge of the government, of the police, of the also of the judicial system. So it's
It
kind of
takes
the system is all kind of already geared against us.
You know what it reminds me? I used to have a violin student who was like this kind of guys, like Nav Gvaot. And we used to argue a lot. And at some point he told me, you know, I don't care what you guys in Tel Aviv think. As long as you are Jews and you are here, you're serving my cause. And then it's like I was
Yeah, it's
maybe,
a
and then it,
rare moment of honesty from Zionists.
no, but that's like why Ronnie called them honest Zionists. He
Yes,
was
yes,
honest, and he says,
yes.
you can think whatever you want, because I felt like I can tell him stuff that's supposed to like shake him, and nothing shook him. He was like, I don't care. You can say what you want and sit in your coffee house in Tel Aviv. As long as you're there and you were Jewish, you help me. And it strengthens the notion that, okay, so I don't want to be here. I don't
So
want to
here's the
don't
question
want to
that
serve this cause, you know?
here's the question that I want to ask. As long as you're here and you're Jewish, okay, I think it does strengthen his cause, okay?
Yeah.
But what if I'm here and I say proudly, I'm a Jewish Palestinian? And I say it loudly, and I say it clearly, and I explain what it means, okay? And I do everything I can to make this not just a spoken reality, but a reality in more senses. So I think this is a very different situation. I think in this situation, I am one of the most dangerous things to the cause of this guy, okay, and Zionism in general. I think this is a very powerful act of dissidence to live here and say I'm a Jewish Palestinian. I live here,
Yes,
okay, and
absolutely.
I also want to say this. I have something that I need to say, okay? We were talking before, and I promised myself that I would say this. During the last year and a half, I heard many times the expression, go back to where you came from, and it was directed at me as well, okay? And also at Elik, okay? Go back to where you came from. And I need to say this at least one time very clearly. I came from here, okay? I was born in Palestine, in occupied Palestine, to a privileged position in the Zionist cult, in the Zionist system. Yes, I acknowledge all of this, but I was born in Palestine. I am from Palestine. I'm Hebrew Palestinian. I'm Jewish Palestinian. Whatever exactly remains to be found out. But this is the kind of thing that I am. I will not go back to where I came from because I have nowhere. I'm already here. I am where I came from. If I leave, this will be my choice, which will be a choice of safety and possibility to prosper, okay, and possibility to be active and just a wide array of considerations. But it's not because I need to go back to where I came from, okay? So please, if you are for the freedom of Palestine, please be for the freedom of me and Elik as well, and Ronnie as well, who come from Palestine, who were born in Palestine. And if we are willing to say that we are Palestinians, who are you to say that we are not? And it's scary for me to say this. It's scary for me to say this.
Let's challenge you a little bit here.
Okay, challenge me, yes.
Because some Palestinians will say, but you are still the colonizer, and you're still basically, yes, you were born there, but you are basically the son of, colonizers, etc. We have to acknowledge all of that.
I acknowledge it,
Okay.
but I don't think that it makes
But
me as a person illegitimate.
exactly. So what I usually say in response is I say, first of all, I say, look, I don't advocate for another ethnic cleansing just in order to fix the previous one.
Yeah.
And luckily, also, most of the Palestinians that I know, the vast majority, are also of the same view, that they don't advocate for another ethnic cleansing, another crime, another whatever, just in order to fix the past. The second thing is also, many people don't know any other place. You were born there. Okay? Yes. My nephew, nieces, etc., they were born there. They don't know another place. I don't want to say that people don't have a place there just because, of their ethnicity. I don't want to say, I don't want to play this Zionist game, okay? I want to abolish
Exactly.
Zionism.
It's Zionist logic to say that
Yes,
that
exactly,
ethnicity
exactly. It is Zionist
gives you
logic.
rights.
But I understand the sentiment. It is about the emotion of Palestinians, and especially after the last year and a half, who say, I don't care. I don't want to live with these people anymore. I mean, maybe in the past I would have considered it. I would have wanted it. Now I don't. I understand the sentiment. Okay. I mean, we have to deal with it. But I think that at the moment the issue is more about how can we usher in the collapse of that system of oppression, domination, and terror. What
Yes,
is the most
definitely.
effective thing to do? That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
By the way, can you hear noises in the background? Should I close the
No, I
window?
think you sound very
Okay.
good.
So what is the most effective thing to
Yes.
do?
Let's go to this question.
What is
let's try
it?
to tackle it head on.
To boycott?
I can
Like
roll
you
a dice. I
deliberately
don't know.
boycott? Hmm?
I can roll a dice. I mean, look, I think that our job right now is to place the chips, the dominoes, for the time when the dominoes will start falling.
Hmm.
Because they
Maybe
will
they
start falling at
started
some point.
already?
I think they started falling, yes.
They started, haven't
Yes,
they?
well, for me, the dominoes start falling when you have some major countries changing their entire stance about Palestine, Israel.
Hmm.
So Ireland and South Africa are not important enough, unfortunately, in geopolitics. But if some important European country says, obviously not Germany, because Germany is the most Zionist place on earth, but a sane country will kind of change its stance and start treating Israel the way it should be treated. And that also means challenging many things, challenging the whole legality, the whole legitimacy and legality of of Israel being in the UN and all of that. That could bring about a change, a significant change, because I think it only takes one or two such countries in order for the dominoes to start falling. But the thing is that we don't really know what's going to bring about the change. I mean, no one expected the fall of whatever, the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it can be faster than what people think.
I think it will be faster.
Yeah.
Yes. And our action, as vocal as can be, could be important. So, Alon, you said about being a Palestinian Jew or
Yeah.
I don't
Hebrew
know how to
Palestinian.
say, how to
My
call
favorite
it.
term is Hebrew Palestinian.
Hebrew Palestinian, thank you, even better. Great, and to be vocal about that, that's great. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. What is the most effective thing that we can do? And I think that whatever we do, we have to oppose that system together, as many of us as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also maybe that's one of the one of the ways to look at it is that there are many things, different things that can and should be done, okay? And there are so few people doing it and so many things that need to be done that we shouldn't like think what is the thing to be done. And it's okay to operate from the outside and it's okay to operate from the inside as long as you are in a certain position and you honestly think about what is the best thing for me to do in this position, both on a level of taking care of my own safety and my own prosperity, and in a way of ensuring this for everybody else. Like this is the way to think about ethics, I think, and as long as you honestly think, what can I do from my position to promote the resistance to oppressive systems, I think that it doesn't matter what conclusion you arrive at. I think you will arrive at the correct conclusion, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I will have the same conclusion as you, because you will do one thing, I will do another thing, and this is the way that we will bring the revolution together. Okay, hopefully.
I need to go to the bathroom for a second. We
Okay,
want
so
to take
let's
some comments and stuff, or
yes,
we...
maybe we'll take some comments. We'll bring maybe we'll take a break of 2 minutes. I'll bring us a drink, and then we'll take some comments, and then we will wrap up the discussion. What do you say, Ronnie?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so 2 minutes, guys. We will be back in just we will turn off the microphones for 2 minutes and continue. Okay, so until Ronnie joins back the conversation, we're gonna take some comments. So let's see. Palestine is just the totality of people who live on the land. Armenians are Palestinian, Circassians are Palestinian, Druze are Palestinian, etc. Yes. I think that the only idea of a state that I will be even remotely comfortable agreeing to is the idea of a state that where citizenship is defined only by geography, where you live and your connection to the place, your connection on a societal level, cultural level, and mainly geographical level. Welcome back, Ronnie.
Hi.
Welcome back, everyone. We have 70 people with us. This is really amazing.
Oh, nice.
So thank you, everyone, for being with us. Thank you, Ronnie, for being with us. And maybe we'll do like on TV where you take a break and then you do like announcements after the break. So is it okay, Ronnie, that we do a couple of announcements for our channel?
Of course.
Okay. So we just finished editing the new episode of the One State Solution podcast. And the subject of this episode is, Eric, you want to say?
Colonialism.
Yes. So what happened was that we saw a video by a very annoying Zionist YouTuber who explained why Zionism is not colonialism, and he gave the usual idiotic arguments. And we wanted to do like a debunking video, but then we realized that the arguments were so bad that a debunking video would have zero value. So we just wanted to take the opportunity to we got upset and we opened the camera and we took the opportunity to have a real discussion about what is colonialism and why Zionism is colonialism. And we started the discussion, okay? And this will be up right after this live session. It will be up and you can watch it. I think it's a really interesting episode.
And it was 2 hours, but I feel like we only touched the surface because it's such a big topic, and
yes,
and it's interesting that it's back in, like, people thought colonialism is over, and suddenly it's like we understand it's not over at all in the 21st century. Not
colonialism 2.0.
Yeah.
Zionist edition.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the name of the episode. Colonialism 2.0.
Israel is the last colonialist entity.
Yes, so
it started colonialism at the time of decolonization. Israel and South Africa were the last colonial entities, and now it's Israel, basically.
So we spoke about how
settler colonialism.
What?
Settler colonialism, which is...
Yes, so we spoke about how Zionism is just a more clever form of colonialism, and this is all the arguments that this Zionist guy had for why Zionism is not colonialism were just arguments of the form, I am falling for the trick, that there is a trick here, that it's not like a state that directly sends its population to colonize, but they take advantage of another population to colonize that place. And this is a more clever form of colonialism. Classical colonialism, it's a no-no at this point in time. But this clever form of settler colonialism, that's okay. That's
but
still okay.
By the way, I don't think it's accidental that it started when all the other countries decolonized. I think like they said, okay, how do we
continue?
How do we find how do we still have a grip in that area? And that's why they needed to secure one colonial endeavor that will stay there, and they use the Jewish Holocaust for that. But yeah.
Yes. So this is the kind of discussion that we had in this episode.
Yeah.
And we will have another episode coming up after that where we criticize the movement to free Palestine. This is
we ended up more criticizing Zionism at the end.
Yes. The episode was still like 70-30 for criticizing Zionism and not the movement. But at least it was 30. Okay, at least there was a 30 component there. So we criticized the movement to free Palestine in all kinds of ways. This will be up in a few days. And anything else we want to announce?
No, we didn't start this taking Zionists out of the closet, anti-Zionists out of the closet.
Yes, but there are plans to do like a series of conversations where anti-Zionists inside occupied Palestine, or maybe inside the branches of Zionism all over the world, are coming out of the anti-Zionist closet and saying, I oppose this thing, I want to say it publicly, I will no longer be silent. And we have a few candidates already for conversations like these. So this will be very interesting, and stay tuned. Anything you want to promote, Ronnie, to plug?
No,
You're not that kind of guy.
no, not that kind of guy. Not that kind of guy.
You're shy about this.
But you give talks all over the place, aren't you? But
Yeah.
Yeah, you do all kinds of stuff.
I do.
Okay,
Look,
so and maybe before we continue the main discussion, Ronnie, you had the subject that you wanted to raise about the Oscars, right?
the Oscars, the Oscars.
Let's do like a B, a B plot line,
Oh my God, this is a whole discussion in itself. Look,
Let's do like 10 minutes.
okay, there was a discussion today in some anti-Zionist group, and so it just raised this thing again. I watched, what is it called? No Other Land, about a
No
month
other,
ago.
yeah.
I watched No Other Land about a month ago here in Germany. Granted that it was with German subtitles and I don't read or speak German and my Arabic is not great, I may have missed a little bit of the film, maybe just because of my ability in Arabic. But having said that, I couldn't wait for the film to be over. I couldn't stand it.
wow.
And the problem is that it was
We
so
haven't watched
frustrating
it.
because
No, we didn't watch the movie.
Okay.
Just disclaimer,
Okay.
we didn't watch the movie.
Yeah, so
First
I
of all,
don't even understand.
congratulations to the filmmakers and and to Mustafa Yatta in general and for the Oscars. However,
Just for anyone who doesn't know, okay, let's not assume that everybody knows.
yeah,
This film won best foreign documentary, I guess, or best documentary period. I don't know.
something like that. Yeah.
In the Oscar ceremonies that were last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is some criticism about the speech that was given because you had the Palestinian ambassador and then let's call him Israeli for that matter.
I just realized that maybe people don't know the film. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to say in like 2 sentences what the
Yes.
film is about?
Okay. Okay, people should go and do homework anyway about the film now and about the Oscars, etc.
Okay, but just 2 sentences so that people understand.
Yeah, it's a film about the struggle in Safariyata, which is in the West Bank, which is a village, or actually a series of villages that are being harassed and worse, basically ethnically cleansed by the Zionist forces. There's a lot of presence of military there, which is making the life of the people there unbearable. And Yuval Avraham, who is an Israeli activist and journalist, goes there and basically establishes friendships there and documents and basically makes a film about these people. So it's basically a film about the ties being formed between this Israeli activist, who is, by the way, fluent in Arabic, which is very important here, and the people there, the wonderful people there. All the people in the film are wonderful people, I have to say, and this is kind of why it's so frustrating. What is my frustration about the film? So it shows the brutality of the occupation, the occupation of 67, not the real occupation. Now, it shows the brutality of the occupation, the presence of the soldiers, how they are harassing, how they are ethnically cleansing, how they are demolishing people's shacks and houses and so on. What is my problem with the film? You have beautiful footage, beautiful visuals, wonderful protagonists. All the people there are really wonderful people. Also good looking and really really interesting. You have an amazing scenery. Okay, you have the also the action that is happening, the violence or whatever with the military, all of that. Okay. The problem is that there is no story. None, zero, nada. Nothing's happening. What the story is that you have two guys sitting and having shisha for like a couple of hours. Now, there were countless opportunities to have an amazing story there. For example, right at the beginning, relatively at the beginning, this older Palestinian tells in Arabic to Yuval, the protagonist, he tells him, "Can you forget the place where where you were born? The Zionists, the Israelis, they try to make us forget. They try to force us to forget." Just from there, you could
Yes.
have built a whole story, which obviously goes back to the Nakba, goes back to 48. Never happened. There were so many other issues, like discussing the thing with the having different IDs, because two different colors. You know, one is blue, the other is green for the privileged Israeli and for the Palestinian. Just from there, you could even just about the occupation, the minor occupation of 67, you could say so much. None of it happened. There was no critique at all, no political discourse at all, no historical discourse at all, no story at all. The story is just this local thing, this human interaction that is happening through this very, very minimal human interaction. Now, some would say, okay, it's just a matter of style and so on. Okay, so be it. I mean, for me, there was literally no story there. And it was really frustrating because there was so much potential.
Yes. So I want to say a few words about this. So just about the creators of this movie. So it's Yuval Avraham that you mentioned, Rachel Shor, and Hamdan Bilal, right? That's and also so I don't know how
Basel
to
Adra.
pronounce the name. Basal Adra.
Basel Adra. He's the main
Okay, yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah. Okay. So I don't because I didn't watch the film, so I don't know. But I know kind of the story. So I want to just explain a little bit. So it's the creators are a Palestinian from Masaf Ariata, right? And Yuval Avraham, who is okay. You might know him from so he wrote the article about like the AI systems, right? In
Lavender. Where's your daddy?
שיחה מקומית, like the Hebrew parallel of 972 magazine, okay?
Yeah.
Um, and like the some of his journalistic efforts were very, very meaningful in exposing the mechanisms that allowed and that operated this genocide, okay,
And
of the
also
Palestinians.
before that, like, yeah, you
Yes,
see, he's like,
yes,
he's a good journalist, let's say, in going and
yes.
documenting.
And it seems like he cares, okay? Like he really cares about
Mhm.
stopping the oppression of the Palestinians. Otherwise, he would not do all this, right? But I want to tell you, Alec and I watched like the speeches that they gave when they won the Oscar. And you see Basal Adra's speech, and it's super powerful, super precise. Like every word is right on. We're like, yeah, man, yeah. And then Yuval Avraham comes on the stage and he starts his speech, and immediately the energies are completely different. This guy is a Zionist, okay? He is definitely 100% a Zionist. He is a liberal Zionist, but he's still like creating fake symmetry and like saying, yeah, all we need is peace, lovey-dovey, blah, 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 bullshit. And I think that this is okay. There is something deep to understand here, I think. You said that the movie doesn't really attack Zionism, and I think that this is no coincidence.
Not only that
That
it
one
doesn't
of
attack
the
Zionism, it doesn't have any political view whatsoever. It doesn't have
because
any, and
if it had a
just
political
like
view,
the filmmaker themselves. I mean,
yeah,
they don't have a real political view about the situation. It's just, oh,
yes,
okay, there's the army. You know, you could have thought that the whole issue is between the villagers and the army,
mm-hmm.
as if that's the
Yeah.
story.
But Ronnie, I want to ask you and also Alon you a question because there are a lot of good people that I see here that they do in terms of sometimes taking physical risk more than I do. You know, they go more to the West Bank, but they're not criticizing the main cause of the problem.
Yes,
And I wonder, like, and I always find myself in this situation that they're doing so much, they're exposing so much, they're risking themselves. How can I criticize them? But on the other hand, I ask myself, does this have value if you don't point the finger into the reason of the whole problem? Like if
Yes,
you don't,
yes.
if and it's not that they're not aware, right? Like it's something deeper. Like there's
No,
something.
I think that most people are not aware, including the
Yeah,
ones going to demonstrate. Yes. Hey,
But
you can see the people demonstrating against Netanyahu. What are they aware of? So obviously the ones going to demonstrate in the West Bank are better, but not all of them are anti-Zionist. Not all of them understand that what they're demonstrating about is only the minor occupation.
yes. So
They
so I
think,
wanted to my comment is highly related to what you asked. Okay, let's analyze what is going on here systematically.
Mhm.
Okay, so this guy Yuval Avraham is part of the Zionist system. Okay, he is a Zionist, therefore his
I don't want to
consciousness.
call him a Zionist, but he is writing in a way that I don't much appreciate his politics,
I,
and he's writing this with this liberal Zionist narrative on a liberal Zionist outlet called 972 Magazine slash
I,
local call.
I feel completely comfortable calling Yuval
Okay,
Avraham a
okay,
Zionist after hearing him speak for two
okay,
minutes after he won the Oscar. I think it's like it's obvious that
okay.
his narrative is very, very clear. I think at least he expressed Zionist views, classically Zionist views, classically liberal Zionist views. Okay. In any case, so he is part of the system. Okay. Because his mind and also his material, benefits are connected to this system, enslaved to this system. And he created this film with a Palestinian who is under oppression, okay? Whose voice became clearer in the film. The reality appeared, but all the choices were made by the Zionists, of course, who wanted to hide the
the
obvious
context.
anti-Zionist conclusions and context of what was going on. And I
Now,
think that this is the only reason that this movie could even exist, let alone win an Oscar. The system will only promote those who promote the interests of the system. And then you get a Palestinian who is oppressed by the system, who is compelled, because he wants his voice to be heard, even in some, small way. He wants his voice to be heard. He is compelled to play along with something that can be argued is Zionist propaganda.
so
So this is like,
I don't know about the interaction between them, and they seem to have a very strong relationship,
yes,
friendship. And I think that
yes,
I believe that this was a mutual kind of call and editing among them, but I don't know. But I can give
yes,
you an example from other films. Okay,
yes, yes.
another film that was a candidate for the Oscars was Five Broken Cameras, an excellent film which was edited by it was done like the filmography was by Palestinians in Belayne that I mentioned before,
Mm,
and the
yes.
putting it together was done by the people Imad and by a guy who is an Israeli activist, okay, with anarchists against wall and so on, and and they managed to tell a beautiful political story,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
doesn't hold back, doesn't kind of try to schmooze and try to make it convenient for the audience. They managed to tell a beautiful story about resistance. Not too long before that, a couple of years before that, there was another film that got a lot of attention called Budrus.
I never heard of
Budrus
it.
was done in order to basically reach an American audience. It
Okay.
was catering for an American audience. And in that film, yes, it was showing about the role of the women in the struggle, the women of the village. So it was promoting that, which was beautiful, etc. But it was also kind of obviously glorifying and embellishing it to a certain degree. But other than that, it was mostly about the Israeli activists and the soldiers. And you had side by side, like interviews with the soldiers, interviews with the Israeli activists, interviews with the Palestinians. It's all kind of, they're all on par. And again, there was very little, there was a little bit about the struggle against the building of the wall in Budrus, but mostly it was just kind of, okay, it was a film that I remember. That my dad watched it and he said, yeah, it was on television, and he didn't have too much issues with that. The fact that most people in Israel wouldn't have too many issues with that film should tell us something, because it didn't really
Yes.
it was kind of comfortable for all sides. It was kind of balancing out the situation in a situation that is not like this, but rather like that. And this is how we should tell the story, not put them on par, but actually show the disparity between the oppressor and the oppressed, colonizer, colonized, etc.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Ronnie, about this. Just the last question about this subject. Do you think that this film winning an Oscar has any like political, like, can we infer something political from it? Like, can we say that the Palestinian struggle has been a struggle for freedom has been normalized to some extent in Western capitalist society? Does this mean that? I don't know. I don't know if we can deduce something like that.
I think it's one step in that direction.
Mhm.
Okay, because we have to remember that there are massive forces trying to silence
Mhm.
it. So the fact that they managed to get the award, which is a politicized event,
Yes, exactly.
is a very good step in the right direction. But in the Oscars, you did have some awards for other people that became kind of political events in themselves. So it's not the first time that this is happening. Did it necessarily change the situation? Did it end the war in Vietnam? No, it didn't. Does it? Is the Oscar going to end the Zionist crimes, Zion-Nazi crimes? Probably not. But it is a step in the right direction. And probably or certainly, I think, if the film was more political, it wouldn't have won the Oscars.
Yes,
That's my
yes. This
view
is
of
the
it.
kind of the point that we were talking about.
Yes, but the fact that it was a candidate is already impressive, and the fact that it won
Yes.
the Oscars is even more impressive, considering that there are very, very strong forces in that industry also, not to mention in the politics, in the political sphere, that are acting to silence all of these
Yeah, that's
types
why we
of
don't
messages.
see that many. I think if there wasn't pressure, there was way more like Hollywood people speaking out, and like I think
Yeah.
it is significant that it succeeded to push through all this.
Yes, and I would like to think, and this is optimistic me speaking, that finally we are at a stage where Israel has exposed its true face to the world.
Yes.
This comes at a very high price, but finally the world, including even Americans, who are usually clueless about the rest of the world, are now looking at Israel, and they don't see something that is necessarily legitimate and normal and democratic. And this is a very, very important change that's happening. And we
Yeah.
have to help this change happen.
Yeah,
It's really,
it
really
said that the
important
only
that,
way to make the oppression visible was to make it that they would make them behave so crazy, so you couldn't hide it anymore.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Because like I mentioned earlier that Israel has no legitimacy whatsoever. I mean, legally, there is no reason that it would even be in the UN. Nothing
Mhm.
about the creation of the state of Israel was legal. And there is an excellent legal analysis by the representative of the Arab League to the ICJ. There was another ICJ hearing, not about the genocide, but about the occupation.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in the discussion about the occupation, you had the bullshit representatives of the so-called Palestinian so-called authority speaking at the ICJ. You can disregard them. They're part of the problem. But you also had other countries joining in, and you had the Arab League, and the representative, his name is, I think, Ralph Wild, and he gave an amazing legal analysis, totally butchering any pretense of legality to the creation of the Zionist state because
Yes.
of the legal structure that it was formed in. And that's why, I mean, and definitely what Israel is doing today and the way it is treating the UN institution itself, there is no reason not to kick it out of the UN tomorrow. And this is something that needs to happen. So I'm just saying there is no legal basis. There's also no moral basis because we know it is a settler colonial entity that is practicing occupation and apartheid since its very foundation, and now also genocide. Genocide was always there, I mean, on the table, and now it is in full force. But it was an apartheid state from the get-go to begin with. Apartheid
Yes.
started in 48, not in 67. And then so from the legal perspective, from the moral political perspective, there's no reason for basically for Israel to carry on. But now finally, 7 decades later, people are starting to talk about these issues. Finally, it's not
Yes.
only about, oh, the situation is bad in Hebron, but actually, no, the whole state
Yes.
is the very character of that state is problematic. It's not the policy of the state, it's the character.
Yes.
It's the
And also
very
like the
essence of
thought
that
that
state.
when you have ideology like Zionism, it can stop at some point. Like part of this that it's never stops, right? Like the thought that you can have like limited racism or limited like it doesn't
Yeah.
work. Like it's intrinsic to it that it expands even to fucking Lebanon, not even to just like it's part of
Okay, guys, but I
I
think
think
I think we kind of veered away from the main subject. We've been talking for a long time now, okay, almost
Okay.
2 hours. So I want to suggest that we start like wrapping up this discussion,
yeah.
and let's just try to say let me suggest that we try to say like the most important factors in this discussion of whether we should stay or we should go, and if we have like any final point to remark about this, I don't know, Ronnie, you want to start?
So there are the objective difficulties about leaving. Okay,
Mhm.
we said maybe people don't have a second passport. Maybe you have all kinds of like obligations and financial concerns and all kinds of others, and family related concerns. Um, but these are all okay. Okay, all of these are I don't deny all of that. At the same time, Israel has crossed the Rubicon. It's like it's nothing about it. I mean, it was not legitimate, as I said to begin with, but now it has gone beyond anything that should be acceptable any longer until that system is over. So now, once it has become this totally genocidal and the society is totally genocidal, it's not just the state, it's not just the policy of the state. The entire society is backing this genocidal mentality. And you guys know about it better than I because you interact with the society there. Um, then I think that that puts us in a very difficult position where something needs to happen other than saying I'm against what's happening here. And I compared it to, Nazi Germany at the time.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really difficult call, but we have to understand that we are already coming from the belly of the beast.
Mhm.
And now, yes, we have the proof that this is a beast and someone needs to do something against that beast.
Eric, what do you think?
um yeah, I also I agree with everything you said, Ronnie. I also feel like that because Israel crossed the Rubicon, it has less to lose in terms of image that it tries to present to the world. And I think then it will we'll start seeing more and more and more crackdown on dissidents like us. I also feel that I want to oppose what's going on here, but sometimes I feel that just by living here, I'm more part of the normalization than part of the resistance. But on the other hand, like every time you talk about like being Palestinian and being belong to the land, it touched some place like deep inside my heart, and I feel like there is something very strong in that position, and I feel like and I feel like I wish to know, I still didn't finish my this journey from Israel to Palestine. Like I feel I have a lot more to learn about Palestine, about the place that I grew up in. Like if there was no this Zionist regime, I would go now and travel in the West Bank and travel and learn about the history. I would like to be one day part of
The Free Palestine.
the Free Palestine, and it's breaking. It's very hard for me psychologically that just when I start to connect to this place, because I feel more connected emotionally.
It's ironic.
It's ironic, but I feel more that it's more both dangerous for me to stay here. And I feel, and I feel that, and I also feel that the current situation now, in the situation, the main struggle is outside. At some point, we will have to also talk to Zionists, to Israelis, but they would not change their mind when the power balance is not changed. Like they have no
something material has to change.
Something material in order for them to be open, and like we know people can become more open to different ideas when the reality change, but the reality has to change. Most of people don't. Except for individuals here and there, but I can do it also if I live somewhere else and do podcast, right? They will find. I found
the majority of
Ronnie.
Palestinians are abroad. You have many of Palestinians to interact with abroad.
Yes, that's true. Right.
And that's, I mean, when I said that I'm in voluntary exile, and now I was in voluntary exile, now I'm in forced exile, it's just one more person who is now in exile. Adding to another 8 million who have been in exile for the past 7 decades. So kind of we should also put this in context. Sorry, I jumped in.
No, I think I said, and it's a good point. And when I was in the US, I mainly was hanging out with Palestinian friends who are now like family to me, and so.
Who I wish I could meet as well. Someday, you know who you are.
If Ahmed and
Ahmed, Khader, Sima, hi guys.
Watching it.
So maybe I will say my position on this thing. So first of all, it's a fact that I was born in Palestine. It's a fact that I lived here all my life, basically, outside of short-term, excursions. And it's a fact that I was born into the privileged position in the oppressive Zionist regime. And it's a fact that I lived in this position without being aware enough of what was going on around me, without being active enough against it, and with a certain amount of complicity that I feel, I feel guilty for, but still, we talked about this guilt versus, I don't know, a sense of responsibility. So I want to turn this guilt into a sense of responsibility. And right now I'm here for an array of reasons. Some of them are mundane and circumstantial, and some of them are deeper. And I think that like the circumstantial reasons are kind of an incidental result of the deeper reason, which is that I truly feel connected to this place, and I connected with what you said, that in the last few years, and especially in the last year and a half, I became more connected. I feel more connection to this place because the process is that I removed all the parts that were connected, or some of the parts, many of the parts that were connected to the cult, which is an illusion, which is fake, which is oppressive. And then it made me feel like the true connection to the actual land. Um, and I feel like if I am here and if I stay here, then that means that I have a great responsibility. I think I have this responsibility regardless, just by being born here and just by being born, I have a responsibility for everyone around me. Um, but I feel like staying here gives me more responsibility to use the fact that I'm here in the best way possible. Um, and I think that this can be summed up with like becoming a Palestinian or a worthy Palestinian. Like this is something, and I truly wish that in a few years this process will bear fruit as me being a worthy citizen of the free Palestine, land of Palestine, not state of Palestine, because we're anarchists, okay? But like this is my vision, this is my dream. I don't know, maybe I will have to escape because what we are doing is so like dangerous to the regime, and the regime is so paranoid that they will just kick us out one way or another. But for now, this is the approach that I have, and I don't know. This is the best I can do, I think.
Usually I have clear answers, and I don't have any clear answer or clear something to say here because I don't think it's a clear-cut issue.
Yes.
It is a complicated decision that is subjective feeling and subjective decision that each person has to make. But we also have to remember that when you stay there, kind of, I mean, there is also something, again, not in a judgmental way. There is something also selfish in a way, not in a judgmental way. If you understand what I'm saying, because if I put myself as, okay, what do I do for me and what do I do for the world? And,
Yes.
in order to fix the world, I also have to fix myself. So it's not
Mhm.
judgmental, okay? I'm just saying, you said you feel more connected and so on, and I totally respect that. And I love it that you said that. And what we're talking about is now an act of disconnection, basically.
Yes. Yes. It's ironic.
It is ironic, yeah, yeah. So it's not a matter
I
of
feel I
like,
feel that this is an inherent issue with being a part of a sick society. We mentioned Krishnamurti in the
mhm,
conversation that we had on the Yala podcast.
yeah,
Uh, and one of my favorite quotes of his is, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly ill society."
yes.
And we were born into, first of all, a human society, which I think is basically ill, and capitalist society, and Western society, and white supremacist society, and patriarchal society, and statist society, and Zionist society. We were born to a multifacetedly, profoundly ill society. And I think it's worth mentioning and acknowledging that there is no escape from this. No matter where you move, you are part of a profoundly ill society. It doesn't matter where you live uh, on this planet Earth, because planet Earth is sick. Um, and
Krishnamurti
I feel
says,
like,
you created the damn thing. Kind of, this is
yes,
how he puts it. Look at the world. This is also what's inside of you. Like, you created the damn thing.
right,
Hmm.
right.
He says it
This
to
is
all of
it.
us.
It's an
Yeah.
expression of all of us. And I think then that this means that what we need to do is to look at ourselves, to look at how we contribute to this, and to try to this is why I'm vegan. Because I see the effect that the Holocaust industries has on the planet and on tens of billions, hundreds of billions of sentient beings, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. And I see Zionism, and I see how dark it is. I see all the violence and suffering and oppression that it causes, and I say, I don't want to be a part of this. But it's not so easy because this system, it forces you to be a part of it in so many different ways that you need to be so vigilant and so honest and so active just to not be a part of it. It's hard, but we need to do our best.
Yes. I also, there's also a feeling of like abandoning the people if you leave, of like if Alon doesn't, I have a passport, he doesn't, Just the feeling of camaraderie with the people who are still here, sometimes it feels really hard. You feel like you're abandoning a sinking ship, kind of.
Yeah, and the Palestinians that are
And
in
the
And the
Palestine.
Palestinians who live here.
And the
Yes.
Palestinians who live, which, yeah, I told you before that they told me, please don't go. And you remember the guy yesterday from Gaza that spoke in this,
Yes,
and he
yes.
said, what happened in Israel? There's no conscientious people anymore. They all left. And he said it not as a
Yeah, he was
good,
bitter about it.
he was
like,
bitter about it. He said,
Yeah.
like, look, there no one conscientious left in the Israeli society. There used to be a bit more.
Yes.
And this connects me to one last point that I want to make, which is that if we stay here, I think one of the biggest thing and the most important things that we can do is to connect with Palestinians here. So please, please, if you are a Palestinian living in occupied Palestine and you want to talk to us and you want to meet with us and you want to do stuff with us, don't tell the regime, but we want to do it. Please contact us on Instagram. I will write our Instagrams. So send us messages on Instagram to connect. If you're a Palestinian who lives in occupied Palestine, please, high on our priorities to connect because this is like our raison d'être for being here as anti-Zionists, So I will write our let's say just final comments and close this broadcast up, okay?
I would just say
You feel
thank
more or
you,
less that the situation is more or less complicated
yeah.
from before.
Yeah, I didn't think that the conversation will give me solution, but every time when we speak, I get like, I feel that there's also a sense of, you said like selfishness, but I don't feel like it's necessarily contradicting to, sometimes your selfish reason will be also better for the cause
Yes.
because you're
Yes.
better and you feel more healthy emotionally and physically, and you can be more active. Like a lot of time it goes hand in hand, actually.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, guys, we've been talking for 2 hours. We have 90 people watching now. I think this is some kind of record for this channel. So thank you everyone for watching this conversation. We hope in Hebrew we say chafarnu, which means we dug, which means we spoke endlessly. So thank you, Ronnie, so much for joining us and for having this important and fascinating discussion with us. We have no answers, but it's not a discussion that needs answers. It's a discussion that needs to be had,
Yeah.
Okay, so one last remark. Watch the episode. I'm going to upload the episode to the Hebrew Canaanite channel, to the One State Solution podcast, episode 13, about colonialism. Two anti-Zionists destroy Zionists, claiming that Zionism is not colonialism. Thank you, Ronnie. Any final remarks before we close up?
No, thank you guys, and just keep it up. Keep it up. Don't feel disparaged. It's just a really difficult situation, and there's no wrong answers, but some answers are better than others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you so much,
so.
Ronnie. And thank you to the audience, and Free Palestine, and freedom and justice for all, and wherever you are, act for the freedom of Palestine and the entire planet. Bye bye, everyone.